All righty. Let's see if we got this right. All right. Okay, so we're going to start this broadcast. We have the invitation posted. It is an earlier broadcast. It's back from Juneteenth. We will update the heading. And all right, let's see who comes in. Sorry, my name is Herschel Daniels. I'm chairman of Friends of the African Union and the Chamber of Commerce. I am now in the process of adding additional people to this hangout. This is to make up for a meeting that we were going to have at the St. Bernard branch of the Cincinnati Public Library. If you'll give me a second, we will get everybody who wants in and see who does. Okay. Send out some invitations and then we'll get this data. Okay. One of the things that we're going to be covering is the My Brother's Keeper. Okay. The Greater Cincinnati. We just had our first annual conference, and as a result of that, we are on our way next month to create in fact, and you'll have to excuse me if you see me doing this. What I am doing is inviting people to the conference. Okay. All right. And the invitations have been posted. And we have a burn through. Okay. And we're going to turn the camera back off. Okay, while we get everything ready for Friends of the African Union, we will, this is live, okay, so the first couple of minutes, we are looking to have X, Y, and Z give us a call in. Hopefully ABC as we go about talking about the do, re, mi. Okay, and so, all right. I sent you FAU Chairman invitation. Okay. We're looking for additional people who will call in over the next couple minutes, and that we will then get to you. Okay. Let's see. We found Herschel. Sorry, Paul. Just getting back to you. Okay. Okay, looking for some email. We are in the process of following up on our Universal Periodic Review. We were one of the first of the organizations here in the United States to take the Universal Periodic Review all the way through. We took it as a joint venture with New Future Foundation, and more about that as we talk about it. Here we go. Yes, we did get the link. Okay, we've got it. Okay. Herschel Daniels, how can I help you? Yeah. Well, you're on the line. I gave you a text. Okay, I beat you. Are you online on on Google? Okay. All right. Well, yep. I've got a Hangout going on. Okay, and so I can put you on speakerphone for recording, but if you want to be on the Hangout, you know, I sent you an invitation. So if you bring up your Google, you'll get the invitation, or we can just do it like this. All right, feel free. Okay, it's I sent you an invitation with Wesley. Okay, all right. So, all right, I'm waiting. Okay, while we're waiting. All right, we are waiting for other people to join us. And join Friends of the African Union at FAUChamber.net. We are an organization that was formed in response to the actions of the African Union. And as a result of that, let's see. There we go. And that's not going to work.
Greetings.
Hey.
Hey, now.
All right. All right. I'm just getting up a little background there right here.
Okay.
All right. So what I wanted to do was to cover today is issues that we were talking about on the tribal. And let's see. All right, let's see where we are. All right.
Is Raheem on here?
I invited her.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know if she was going to be available or not, but I did make sure that she was invited and that we were available. So I opened it up, okay, to everybody, okay, so that we could put this down. I wanted to cover a couple of issues and get a couple of things out of the way on this briefing before tomorrow, because tomorrow we're 50 days away from this, the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March.
Okay, right.
All right, and we had been making, some decisions on what we were going to do, and we finally decided that we were going to be in New York because of everything that we started. And I want people to understand, okay, that we're open to everybody being in our congresses, okay, and that from all different points of view, okay, but that specifically we are in a situation right now that we have to respond as a people to the call of our government, the African Union, and the responsibilities of us as Americans under the Treaty of 1885. And what's unique about that is that, and it's not that we wanted to be unique, it's just that, when we got together, we looked around for a year for everybody in the room, and we joined other people, and we expected that they would carry forward. We looked around the room, and by the end of 2012, still nobody was doing the deal.
Right.
And so, let me digress and say that my name is Herschel Daniels. I'm chairman of Friends of the African Union. This is Wesley Kavila, who's on the, well, we're on the Hangout together. It's open, it's available. You can invite as many people as you want to it. We'll be doing these Hangouts on a daily basis starting tomorrow, so that you get the background. That if you are 1% or more African blood and don't live on the continent, welcome, brothers and sisters. You're part of the African Union 6th region. It was declared officially July 16th, 2012. 2012, in case you didn't get the message, okay, it's 2012 that you are part of the African Union.
Right.
And the African Union is 54 nations, okay? Well, here's Tamar. Yes, Tamar, we're on the Hangout, okay? I sent you an invitation as part of the group, okay? Or are you in the United Nations right now? Okay. All right. So just to digress for a second, okay. Yeah, let's do this call, okay, at 2 o'clock because I want to get through with this hangout. That I want to get this information recorded. And as of tomorrow, we're 50 days away from the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March.
Right,
and,
right.
We're going to do it right this time. Okay, we're going to make sure, okay, that that the funds are going to be collected. We expect to collect $1 billion. Okay, if we have 1 million men, did I just crash?
You lost two more.
Okay, all right. I thought I just crashed. Okay, no, I got him. He's still there. Okay, he's just got it on. Well, we did just lose him. Okay. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 million men, and we're each going to pledge either $100 a month, or we're going to pledge $1,000 up front. You're going to get a receipt for it. You're going to get the tax deduction where appropriate for it. You're going to help sponsor $1 billion business fund. Like I met with the senior policy advisor for the White House Task Force on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. And, I let him know that, we were in 2013 in Vietnam, where they introduced us to the African Vietnamese, not the African American Vietnamese, but the African Vietnamese, from when thousands of years ago we had these great fleets that explored all over the world, including Asia. And it's documented. And so they've got about maybe 700,000 of these African Vietnamese who looks like brothers down on the block in L.A., okay, who are a mixed Vietnamese African American heritage.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's all throughout Asia. As you well know, we are in Pacific Islands. We're opposed to Indonesia, who is carrying out a genocidal campaign. So, I made him aware of who we are and where we stood relative to creating a South-South-South dialogue. Okay, and that would be something that would come from like ASEAN. And so that would be either a China-led coalition, or it would be a coalition that would be led by Japan. Now, the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a Japanese-American invention, and that's getting a little bit rough going here in America because everybody remembers NAFTA. Well, the problem is that if you look at what that is in a world economy of 75 trillion, that's an immense amount because we're in it. We're the #1 economy in the world. We're $17 trillion in GDP. All right. Now, China, which is $10 trillion in GDP, but an equivalent and an equivalency, it's their economy when you adjust it is equivalent to ours. The problem is they have 1 billion people and we have 300 million. Okay, so what that makes is it makes it a change. Okay, it makes it possible. Okay, for us to have a discussion, creating a South-South-South dialogue, because we in America are the biggest bad black people and the richest in the world, bar none. Okay?
What does South-South-South mean?
Well, South-South-South is, there's a South-South dialogue, which is the G77 plus China, which is basically the developing world. And the South is the developing world working with the development world. So there's the Asian South, there is the America South, and then there's the Africa South. Okay. And so we've been joined by several different people, okay, and all right, we have women are in the house, okay, and Carlton, is that you that's breaking up in that background? That's the Carlton Brown Foundation. You can always hit your mute button, okay. All right, so let's, okay, well, we got Robert Harris, you joined the conversation. We got Carlton Brown, he's in the conversation. But we're going to give it over to the ladies, to the floor right now. And how you doing, sister?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to do one of these, okay, every day starting tomorrow. Okay, Carlton, if you could put one of your computers on mute because we're getting a feedback on it. Okay. Okay. And we want to, okay. All right, so, all right, so I let the camera go. Ah, okay, so it is working. Here we go. All right, so the whole idea behind this is that tomorrow we're 50 days away from the second anniversary, the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. We have an audit from 2005 of the original march, and we think we can collect on this. We're going to be in New York. majority of people who are physically traveling to a location may be in Washington. The reason we're in New York is because we asked the United States government for a solution to institutionalize federal racism. We asked that as an unsolicited proposal. And that unsolicited proposal is going to use as a tool My Brother's Keeper program based on My Brother's Keeper of Greater Cincinnati, where we just held the first conference. And the reason we're using My Brother's Keeper is that it has 6 goals. And it's meant for all children. Although it says My Brother's Keeper, it's meant for all children. It meant that all children will be able to be ready for school. It means that all children by 3rd grade will be reading grade appropriate. It means that all children will have a means to graduate from high school. It means all children should have a college career or a vocational or some kind of career development and programming that helps set them on learning for life and a career that's sustainable for life. And it means that first job, okay, for somebody under 25. And then it means that all that, they need the neighborhood to grow up in that is free from violent crime. Now, it said violent crime. Now, what they have is economic injustice, okay, which is nonviolent crime. That means like the people who take your money, but they're not violent about it, because you never see that they've taken your money because they're downtown and they're able to get the deals cut, okay, in the procurement of services at your city. So, you know, we have a couple 100 years worth of experience relative to dealing with that. Just, well, I would say at least 200 years of that on the phone. Okay, and we won't get into details on that, but let's just say cumulatively we have 300 years, and I'm counting the years that we have on the phone. So let's just count 300 years that we have on the phone. But in FAU, we have thousands of years as well as to address that. So what we have done since 2011, when I was called back by Dr. Ali, who is the ambassador from the African Union. And wait a minute, let me go back, because most people who will be watching this, and I promise to be more organized tomorrow, but the thing about the African Union, it's 54 nations, it's 54 African nations, 1.1 billion people, who last year earned $2.5 trillion. We are, okay, arguably 55 million people of their 6th region of the African Union, and last year we earned $1 trillion. That's why you heard me say that we're the big bad black people, because we earned $1 trillion. Okay, 55 million of us. That means we earned on the average $20,000 to $25,000. Where on the average in Africa, you're talking about earning maybe $2,400. Okay, and the diaspora altogether, the other 250 million, they earn $1 trillion. Okay, so they earn $4,000. We're it. We have that capacity to help our people on the continent while helping ourselves. See, the difference of that we have is that I just attended the White House conference that was held in Cleveland by the White House Special Advisor to the Asian American Pacific Islanders. And the reason they held that conference in Cleveland and coming back all across the nation is that they must have a smaller population, but they do $600 billion worth of business. We do $120 billion. The difference in that is that they are connected back to their ancestral homeland, whether it be Korea, whether it be China, whether it be Japan, whether it be India, okay, or other nations. They're connected back, okay, all right. And so as a okay, I will use this chat, okay. Yes, and I will get to that issue, okay, of how we deal with the issue of violence. But part of the violence is economic injustice. We as a people, as Americans, have not been given the same shake as other Americans. The big issue of immigration, well, we didn't come here as immigrants. The majority of us came here, we're ancestors, came here as slaves. They came here with nothing but the skills that they inherently have. And as they built this country for free labor, when in 150 years ago, when the Civil War ended, they, as 4 million Africans in America, have now born over 40 million of us from that. But when they came up, now they weren't given any compensation for that work that they had done to build America. As a result, what we have now is from our hard-earned work from our ancestors, because even 50 years ago, we had to have a law passed in 1965 for us to fully enjoy the freedom of being an American in terms of the right to vote. And so if everybody who's talking about, well, why aren't we ahead and why aren't we further than we are, is because we had the United States government and state governments and local governments against us. We didn't just have an impediment like the Jews had, of saying, okay, no Jews allowed, at the same time that they said no Irish allowed, etc. They could integrate into the mainstream of America. It didn't work like that for us. Okay, when we were getting ahead in the 60s, all of a sudden now we had immigration coming in that we would have to replace us in the construction industry, to replace us in the hospitality industry, to replace us in those industries where we have a skill set that we were growing. And all of a sudden now we were competing with people who weren't even Americans. And they were getting preferential treatments in the farms. They were getting work under the Reagan administration. I lived in Washington, D.C., and I saw where 250,000 Central Americans destroyed our ability to grow our construction businesses, our restaurants businesses, our hospitality businesses. And we've got to reclaim that. We have a good start. We have a base business of, let's call it $60 billion that we spend in our own community, or about 6% of our income. Our goal as Friends of the African Union has always been economic empowerment that begets social enlightenment. But we've got to deal with various issues, and so we've dealt with those issues by using the Universal Periodic Review. And this is something that President Obama started us on in 2009 when he rejoined the United Nations Human Rights Council, and he brought us to that. He has not done specific things that many of us have wanted to do in executive orders for our people, but yet at the same time we've not pressed him through our Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. We've not pressed him through our organizations, because mostly of our 15,000 organizations we have in America that are African American, majority of them are not Pan-Africanists. Majority of them that even are Pan-Africanists, for whatever reason, missed the boat on July 16th, 2012, when the African Union extended it and created the sixth region. So we're playing in that. We're working in that. Okay, that's the atmosphere that we're working in this last 500 days of the Obama administration. So when I say we're coming up in on the Million Man March anniversary, and when we were at the State Department as part of the Universal Periodic Review, I made it clear in the discussion that we considered that you have two alternatives. We're about solutions.
Yes.
We understand the problem. We understand the history of the United States.
Yes.
But what we had to do is that we had to come up with solutions. We think we've addressed some solutions, and I'm going to stop talking for a while and take any questions and then I'll get to the talking about the violence and economic injustice. As I said, we have FAU women online, okay, and so I'm going to shut up for a second and give her the floor and talk about yourself. And now, if you got any questions, now's a good time to ask those questions. How's that for putting you on the spot?
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a second or two to figure out if you want to or not. Okay, but
Well,
I know. Go ahead.
in general, I can really talk a lot, but you know, I'm still at this point filling out my day and which road to take.
All right. Well, you know, I threw you into a big water. Okay, and I admit that. Okay, and that's one of the things that we've been struggling with is okay. Yeah, 15,000. 15,000. Yeah, if you could, yeah, not 1,500. 15,000. If you go to the reference to that is Gale's list of non-governmental organizations. Because I was trained in the Foundation Center, you know, when you count organizations, like you count the NAACP as one organization, or do you count it as 400 different chapters in that organization? So we choose to count it as 400 chapters, as 400 different organizations within that. And so if you break it down to, you know, like I'm Kappa, right? Okay. So, you know, how many Kappa are there? How many? There we go. All right. Now we see beauty in
oh, Lord.
Wow. And so, you know, what we count, and it may be that it may be as little as 2,300 organizations that are have many chapters: Urban League, NAACP, NAN, okay, etc. But we also count, you know, when I say 15,000, I'm talking about those who are above ground and organized, have a 990, have some kind of a church affiliation, etc. If we look at churches just alone, you know, we easily surpass that number just by itself in the black community. Right. All right. So I look at those churches that have more than just their parishioners, have maybe a CDC, a housing organization, run a food pantry, members of the Baptist Ministerial or Progressive Baptist or AME or etc. And so we'll get a better handle on that over the next 50 days as we let people know that we're here.
Okay. So are we on a campaign to put ourselves out there? Friends of the African.
Starting tomorrow, yes, we will. Okay, we're going to over this next 10 days ramp that up. Okay, to let people know that we're here each day. I'm going to do at least an hour for the next 50 days, and the next 10 days is going to be basics. Okay, African first basics is who are we? Okay, we're an American non-governmental organization who's in partners with New Future Foundation and the United Nations Civil Society. We've made an application with the African Union to be a civil society organization in the African Union. We've made our own application at the United Nations, but it wasn't going to go through in time, so we ventured with the New Future Foundation to submit our solution, because the United States was being judged on 192 other countries. We're judging the United States just like the United States gets to judge 192 other countries using the Universal Periodic Review. And we use that review to address issues that President Obama has said is a problem in America. Not
Okay, I
that
have a
Herschel
question.
Daniels or anybody else said. And
So, what is our main purpose for putting ourselves out there?
our main purpose is to fulfill the structure of what the what the African Union tasked us as a people to do. She tasked us specifically to do 5 things on July 16, 2012, when we became part of the 6th region. Number 1, organize ourselves. Get ourselves, they're going to give us 20 votes in civil society in the African Union, and the first time we're going to have direct votes as delegates. And they said, well, organize yourself to get ready to do that. Okay, so that's the number 1 thing, is make sure that organization. So we took a pledge early on that we would do the organization but not run to be one of the people who would be elected. Okay, so that we're the fair broker. We're the people who say we're going to organize it so that we all can have a fair vote. So we've spent the past 2 years training with the Carter Center and the Europeans and people who hold votes to hold the vote next year. Okay, so that's one thing that we're going to be doing, is holding that vote. The second thing that we're going to be doing is that they asked us to find out who wants to volunteer. Okay, who wants to put their do some work. Okay, not only in Africa, the continent, but where they're at. Okay, that's the key point, where they're at. Okay, at the third thing is, if you got skills that you can use, that you want to use in Africa, put it together. Okay, give us in the database. So we're putting the database together so that you can register your skills. Okay, now it's not just the skills that you're going to use, okay, in Africa, but it's the skills that you're going to use to build your business, to build your career, and what we can do to help you on that. Now, the curious thing is that out of the 300 million people who live outside the continent who are in the 6th region qualified for the African Union, 30 million plus come from the continent, and they send back each year over $60 billion a year, and they take back over $100 billion physically. But that 60 billion goes through mostly Western Union, and Africa wants to get cheaper rates, so they asked to create the African Institute for Remittance. Okay, can we put a cheaper, better, more secure e-commerce system together to send money back better than Western Union? And then the 5th thing is they asked us to put together an investment fund. Okay, and when we looked at that, because we're a member of the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, there are over 600 organizations a member of that, 27 years old, and it currently runs the only CRA-based mutual fund in America. That's Community Reinvestment Act mutual fund, with over $1 billion in it so far. And so we're drawing on that experience to put together our fund. And we asked for a whole lot more money. We asked for 5,000 times that money, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then the last thing that they asked us to do is to develop a marketplace for African development. Okay. Africa has 34 nations that have a better criminal index than Russia. We have 6 out of 10 of the world's most growing metropolitan areas is in the African continent. So we have on the continent a massive amount of transformation happening, and we've not been there until this year. And this year, through Friends of the African Union and a joint venture with New Future Foundation, we've been all the way through the post-millennium development goals and the sustainable development goals, and we've been at the conference for financing that. And we stood up and we said, we have a plan. And we put that plan forth, and we said how that plan would work. And, you know, it would put $300 billion in infrastructure build. It would create for 1 million small businesses, $250 billion in funding. It would create for 7 million homes damaged as far back as Katrina. Now, we've always said this. We've said that our program, okay, as far back as 2013, when we presented this to the African Union, we said that we were going to address the 7 million homes that were damaged in America that as far back as Katrina. And so that's where we were talking about the economic injustice as well as damage. When, you know, that whole period, we watched it happen. We know what happened. We don't have to guess. Okay, as a member of the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, Friends of the African Union is a successor to my membership in that organization for the past 12 years, which meets annually with the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Federal Open Market Committee, and quarterly with the nation's biggest banks. So we were there. We watched it unfold. We know who did what. So that was our original plan that we responded to the letter from President Obama in February 2013, which was a $1.25 trillion plan. And we basically said, Mr. President, you have the authority to do this on your own without going to Congress, using quantitative easing. We invented a process for it called the Daniels IDIQ. My hubris, I'm sorry, but it is. And furthermore, I named a program after my father, who was a HUD official, and my mother, who was a social worker, to address this issue. And the unique thing that happened in 2013, although the SBA and the Minority Business Association agency froze up on me, the African Union called us to the table in October 8th through the 10th in 2013 to address their 50-year plan. And we came to the table, and we came with our own $1.25 trillion plan. And at that meeting, on a rump session, that plan was adopted and to be expanded on. And then in 2014, we used the Universal Periodic Review to expand on that plan with New Future Foundation. And now, when we go to New York on October 15th, we're going specifically to work with the South-South-South, where we're working with Asia, we're working with the Americas, and we're working with Africa. And so when we talk about connection in Asia, we're talking about those Africans who are members of the diaspora are our lead, okay, in China, in Japan, in Korea, in Philippines,
India.
in Indonesia, okay. And I mentioned Indonesia. In Indonesia, we're in a fight, okay, because Indonesia is carrying out a genocidal war, okay, against our people who are African. And so that was one of the things that happened last Thursday when we were at this White House conference about Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, when I stood up and said that I was from the FAU Chamber of Commerce, and that one of our members, Hargrove Engineering, in 2013 went to Vietnam and met the man who was in charge of building it. We were the first American company, not first African American company, first American company who had met the Vietnamese at that level in Hanoi, that was taken and given opportunity to develop in Da Nang and other areas in the country. So that was before President Obama cut the deal with the president of Vietnam. And so it was, you know, it was a seminal moment for letting them know that there was actually two groups of African Americans there, Pacific Native African Americans and African Americans, okay, from Cleveland. And to say that we had an interesting conversation after that was good. And I'll be covering more about that as we go along. But did that answer your question, the main purpose of the organization, of getting ourselves out there?
Sort of.
Yeah. Be honest. Go ahead. I'm not going to be. I'm okay. Okay.
I just want to know, like, you know, the reason I asked that is so if I come in contact with entities that we need to let know that we're here and what we're about, then I want to, you know, I want to know that that's a focus.
Right. Okay. So that's why we have a mission focus, and then we have you know, to get us launched underway, and then we also have a debate that's going to go on. Okay.
So
go ahead.
another reason that I'm asking is because, okay, for example, when you see there 15,000 organizations, or even let's just say 23,000. You know, I'm just thinking, like, what do we do to strategically position ourselves so that our efforts are even supported by other African organizations here?
Okay, so
and what do we do, and how do we create alliances, or do we concern ourselves with that right now?
So that's why we have a Congress, okay, and the whole idea behind the Congress is that everybody in, okay, everybody from the nation to the those who are Jewish African Americans, to Native American, Native African Americans, to Hispanic African Americans. You got 1% of blood in America, you're in. You got 1% of African blood anywhere in the world that you're not on the continent. You're qualified to be in the 6th region. Okay. Now you can do nothing. I mean, you know, you could say that don't mean anything to me and continue on with your life. But if you are a Garveyite, okay, then you should know that Garvey's dream is being fulfilled. Okay, if you follow W.E. Du Bois in his latter part of his life as a socialist, or his early part as NAACP, and you are African, okay, that 1%, you should be interested in what we're doing. Okay, if you know, Africa said it best, okay, in 2013 when she propagated this 50-year plan from 2013 to 2063. That which has gone before is Pan-Africanism. That's our history. That's how we got here to 2013. But we have an African Renaissance that's supposed to be going on now, and that the President of the United States in 2013 signed on to it. He did not, you know, quibble. He sent his ambassador to Addis Ababa, and we signed the protocols to be here in America to sign on to it. I mean, I got the message in 2012, in June of 2012, when I attended the U.S.-Africa Business Summit. And so we are organized around that. Now, we had a delay on where we are because we had a false financer show up at the table, and you know, we followed and structured for that in 2013, and it turned out that they really weren't able to do what they say they were able to do. So we took 2014 to continue on our mission of informing key people that we were there to do the mission and reaching out. And let me say, sister, in 2012, we joined national movements that came together that were traditionally Pan-Africanists, and they were at the table. When I was called by Ali, Ambassador Ali, in 2011, in December 16th, okay, the room was full of Pan-Africanist, traditional Pan-African organizations, WADU, FADU, you name it, okay? They were there, all right? And see, I came from David Morrow's shop. His Excellency David Morrow in '95 was the senior honorary consul to the Republic of Guinea. So I came from a governmental aspect of an African nation representing in the United States. So I wasn't involved with how we got here except from what we set up back then. And it's now being fulfilled. Great, except for one thing. The leadership in that room didn't tell their members or distribute this information. I mean, did you hear before us anything about, well, you would know because you've been involved.
Right.
Okay. You know, but was this widely information distributed to people? It wasn't. I can't say that why not? Okay. People in those organizations had to go ask their leaders why not. Okay, but when you come into FAU, what we say is we got a Congress waiting for you. Okay, that's what we said we would have organized by October 15th this year. Okay. A Congress waiting for you, so that you can have a vote next October 15th.
Okay, wonderful.
2016. Okay, so you can vote for 4 people in America. Now, we didn't set this up. Be clear. We didn't set this up. The African Union set this up.
Okay.
It said that there's going to be 20 people from around the world to represent 300 million people who will join our delegates in voting in civil society. These are the steps that you take to stand yourself up in the African Parliament. We're a little bit more ambitious than that, but we'll get more into that as we go into these discussions. Right now, we're standing up over the next 10 days the organization Friends of the African Union and its Chamber of Commerce. Then we're going to talk about this 10 days after that. We're going to talk about the trading company and the businesses, because it's our intention to have on October 15th 1 million business partners in our Chamber of Commerce who are willing to put down $100 a month or $1,000 to become a member, so we can create a $1 billion venture fund. And so we worked it out, okay, with the White House in a framework, face-to-face discussions on that. And we sent the documents that when we wrote to President Obama on African Liberation Day earlier this year. I'll read this letter, and then I will take any questions, further questions. Okay. Released to the public on May 25th, 2015. Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, the White House. Mr. President, this is an unsolicited proposal but uses established resources. We, members of the Friends of the African Union and citizens of the United States of America, would like to meet with your administration no later than October 2015 to create an alliance between the people of the African Union and the people of the United States through a public-private partnership that is mutually advantageous. Our first goal is to erase the digital divide in the people of the African Union, including the over 20 million Americans of African heritage. It would also be centered in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the first community served in Cincinnati by the local coalition of your My Brother's Keeper Community Challenge Task Force as a place and time to capitalize on our joint skills as Americans for the people of the African Union. Here, we will use our contacts as citizens of a global power and our intellectual property through a patent pool process created with the goal of creating jobs with a focus on science, technology, engineering, math, creative class, and health, while supporting a policy of economic development that begets social enlightenment. It is based on our work to end institutionalized federal government racism in the United States of America. We do that in line with My Brother's Keeper Task Force actions in the report of 2015. In doing so, we are making this the headquarters for civil society solutions that uses the United Nations Human Rights Council Universal Periodic Review in the Americas and Africa. The Universal Periodic Review has the great potential to promote and protect human rights in the darkest corners of the world, so says Ban Ki-moon, UN Secretary General. The UN is conducting a United Nations Human Rights Council Universal Periodic Review of the United States of America. The Friends of the African Union joined the New Future Foundation on September 15, 2014, and submitted the facts of the Mike Brown case, known then as an example and not the only one, to the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and the U.S. State Department of possible police misconduct, in line with the deadline for such submission in regards to the Universal Periodic Review of the USA that was carried out May 14, 2015 in Geneva. Our summary statement is on the following page. It is our intention to give use the purchase of infrastructure debt for sewer systems, waterworks, airlines, port authorities, postal services, rail transport systems, information, computer technology, bridges, roads, housing, and other public-private partnerships agreements with financial instruments that meet our current country human rights declarations by the U.S. State Department and for the UN UPR 2019 of the United States. Okay, and as a result, we do so with private institutional investors who are searching for a means to diversify their portfolio and explore new opportunities that generate higher yields in a low global interest rate environment. On June 19, 2015, My Brother's Keeper of Greater Cincinnati will host a forum on the framework to support sustainable development for Cincinnati for the next 20 years via an Asian, Americas, and African alliance called My Brother's Keeper of Africa. We look forward to your administration's assistance as per the aforementioned task force as we mold a new generation of American leadership. Herschel Daniels Jr., Chairman of the Friends of the African Union. So that's what was sent on May 25th this year. And so we held that meeting with his administration on the Universal Periodic Review. And last week we held the meeting with the Senior Policy Advisor for a task force, and we bend that to our aims. And they liked what we proposed in general. Okay, but now we're working on it in detail. That's what the next 50 days are about. And as I have this hangout at FAU Chairman that's online, I'm looking forward to working with all of you to get that the core done. Okay, to get that core work done with the core 1,000 partners who we will, by demonstration, do what we said we were going to do. Economic development that begets social enlightenment. The social enlightenment that they're going to get is that we are a people who Africa has called for help. Help us light up Africa. Help us give water. Help us take advantage of the $200 trillion that the African continent is worth, that's only getting $2.5 trillion, and make it to the benefit of the African people worldwide, 1.4 billion people. That's what we're about in our chamber. That's what we're underlying in our organization. And the Congresses may say that may not be what they want to be. And, you know, that's, you know, where we all come together and we have that discussion. We've not had that discussion.
Well, from what I've experienced, there are other organizations that are actually, you know, having the same kind of thing in mind, you know, in terms of development in Africa and here as well, kind of along the same line. That's why I'm asking about alliance, because when I hear different groups or I find different groups that are doing this kind of work, I just think it would be so powerful if we had alliances and maybe some kind of a coalition where we're all working together, you know, and where we are actually having like an ocean behind our waves.
I agree. That's why we structured it. Okay, Wesley, you could step up anytime. Okay, about talking about the Congress and our plans relative to that.
Okay,
When
well,
I
I have a couple of questions. I just want to get in before we close. The first one is just real talk in terms of for the Congresses. Um, like we were asked to get an administrative assistant, and I have a great administrative assistant that can do administration plus PR and public relations and community relations work, and they have a wide experience in this. But the question is, you know, are we expecting any funds to pay these kind of people in order, you know, to get them to work for us? Because people are not going to give up their 9 to 5s to come and work for us, you know, free. So that's number one. Number two, I just wanted to ask Rahima if she would address as quickly as we could the question that I raised about the Pahakra tribe. I think having a tribal identity is very important in the overall context of the Commonwealth and the Congresses. But we may be hindering ourselves by trying to follow the Pahakra model because it has a 20-year baggage with it. And when we try to inherit that history, that baggage will stick with us. And so the question is, you know, should we try to identify another or come up with another name where we talk about identify all over the continent that have been designated for us? And then I can't, my third question I can't think of right now, but if we can address those two, I would appreciate it.
Okay. On the Fayanka issue, I bow to the sister, okay, because she's more, you know, has been involved with you in that, okay.
Right. I think that it is. I think that's a very, very good and a very important point because, you know, from there being there and experiencing the Fuhansa thing and realizing after, especially after talking to other Africans that have repatriated and that are in different areas. What can I do about the feedback?
Okay, on the feedback, okay, that's why I can say that I'm going to be going on the regular calls to have a headphone and mic situation.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so I met people that were there in different regions in Ghana that had chiefs allocate land for them, and they were there doing their thing. You know, growing, you know, participating in festivals, doing different things, building, you know, as well as other countries. So, though I think the land there where quote unquote Fihankra saga has happened, it's extremely beautiful and valuable land. I think that it's definitely for us to consider regrouping, or not even regrouping, but just opening up to doing something totally different, starting afresh, because that um, has the name, the whole experience there has been 20 years with negativity, you know, an abundance of negative things. So I think that even in Ghana, there are like, what, 7 regions. and they all are big. They all have land. People are always interested in us coming there and doing things and building. So I think that it is definitely something for us to think about, even outside of Ghana, different places where land can be allocated. Because my experience is that in general, people really want to, they really want African Americans to come there and partner with them. And just from the way people would come and get me and take me to their village, I went to one village where they had a house built. They said, this will be your home. You can do your dance here. They just want something happening in their area. So with that kind of possibility, that kind of opportunity and potential, we should be open to, I think that it would be good for us to be open to um, doing something fresh. We can take on that and maybe do some building or do some alliance and work with people for that, but I think that we should think about revamping, regrouping, and doing something totally fresh. And I think that we can also think of having a name that is more universal. um, Maybe something, I don't know, just something that's more universal, something that's more encompassing than just tree, than just that particular language. Also, one more thing, and I think if we do think of another name, I think that we should. I think that it's important that we think of something that is forward reaching. It can include what's happened to us, but something that defines what we're about and where we're going and what we are striving to achieve, instead of just identifying that we are, the ones that suffered in the Holocaust, something that addresses our moving forward, our building, our unified, our collective development, our power, our powerful moving forward, something like that. That's what I think. So that every time we say that name, we're actually lending breath to the idea of the direction that we're going.
And Herschel, we couldn't hear you the last minute.
Sure couldn't. That's what I was saying when he put up a message. No, still can't hear you.
Brother Mwalimu, can you speak?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other point that I wanted to raise, I just thought about it, was, do we have a timetable? Because I know we want to start doing the sewer to energy in Cincinnati, but do we have a timetable for taking projects to the continent? Because as we talk with ambassadors and representatives from those countries, those are the kinds of questions that they ask. And so, do we have a timetable that we are going by in terms of taking our projects, to the continent? We still can't hear you, Herschel. Still can't.
What happened?
I have no idea. He signed off. Maybe if he signed back in, he might be able to get back in there. You there, Mr. Daniels? Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure anxious about the sewer project here in Cincinnati. You know, it's going to be absolutely huge. There'll be a whole lot going on, so I'm looking forward to that. Then they have the people coming in from LA for the sports and the fashion art media and entertainment. Did y'all see the FAU planning on that, where he was talking to the people in LA? Anybody see that?
No.
It's up on
No.
his YouTube account. You back, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, perhaps we should just close out then and continue
Yeah,
tomorrow.
come back again, yes.
We'll wait 30 seconds, Herschel, to see if you can come back in.
What time tomorrow?
I guess the same time we did it today. What time did we start today?
12 noon.
Okay, that sounds
12:30 would be better for me. I think I'll be working tomorrow.
12:30 sounds good to me.
Okay. Yeah, because I'll probably be in school tomorrow, but I'm sure I can get lunch break around 12:30.
okay. Excellent. Then that's it. Then let's reconvene tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern.
Okay.